So we're trying something new this week on the Buckeye Talk YouTube channel. Instead of doing a bunch of mini videos after the game, we're going to do one large video. We did do one video on Julian Sayin grading the quarterback because we do that every single year. But now we're just going to talk about everything. And we have 15 minutes. Stefan set a timer. So if we go over the 15 minutes, we suck. Stefan, you go first. Biggest takeaway from Ohio State's 42-3 win over Minnesota in Week 5.
I'm going to start kind of going big picture because right around here where we're standing, Ryan Day was standing before the game, and he was looking up at the big screen that you can see behind us, and there was a game on. Everyone was sitting together watching a game like you would at a bar, like you would in your living room, and it was UCLA beating Penn State. And it was just kind of poetic that Ryan Day was sitting there watching it happen because one thing that Penn State is known for is not winning the big game. James Franklin's pretty good about not getting upset in a matter like that, right? Because even, like, I think back to, like, 2020 when Mike Penix had his play for Indiana to beat Penn State. That wasn't as shocking as, like, this was, right?
Like COVID years, so everything's
Yeah, COVID year, everything. Yeah, Micah Parsons wasn't playing. But Ryan Day is watching Penn State do something that it doesn't usually do right as his team is about to take the field and play an unranked opponent. And what does Ohio State do, like they always do under Ryan Day, an unranked opponent?
Go
unless
down 3-0.
Unless it's Michigan. Yeah, they went down 3-0, but then they just beat the hell out of Minnesota. And that's a sign of just sheer dominance. Ryan Day, he was joking about like he can retire now because he now owns the best winning percentage in college football history. Now, he hasn't coached for 10 years to be eligible for that yet. But the record was 88.1% of games. He's at 88.2% of games he wins. And that's only possible if you don't slip up, right? Like, you can have a great winning percentage if you lose games to, he's lost to Georgia. He's lost to Michigan teams, not just last year when they were unranked, but when Michigan was a top 5 team, right? Like, he's lost to really good teams. Okay, that's football. Sometimes a good team sometimes loses to a good team. 2019, Clemson, things like that. Sometimes you lose to a good team. But Ryan Day's program is in a place where Urban Meyer was getting upset. They were losing games that they shouldn't lose. And Ohio State's not doing that. Like, is this sometimes dicey, right? Like, I know there's been games against Maryland, last year against Nebraska, where it's kind of out of nowhere, and you're thinking to yourself, like, what is going on? Like, how is this team keeping it close? But for the most part, Ohio State dominates. Whoa.
It happened again.
Ohio State takes out the light from its opponent and makes him want to leave. So
This is the second time we've been in the middle of a video in Ohio State and this has happened.
What's up with the night games?
Yeah, man, back to news.
I mean, we don't have to deal with this at noon when we're recording these videos at 4 p.m., right? Like, what is going on? Ohio State's just in a spot where it's sheer dominance, right? Like, you don't – I think I wrote about it last year too, where it's like you go into these games, especially when Ohio State's playing at night and an unranked opponent, and you're like – it's one of those weeks in college football where this team's getting upset and this game is close for no reason. And that's what happened, like, with Penn State losing to UCLA, and you're kind of looking around the country being like, oh, what's going on? There's a lot of these, weird close games that you didn't expect. And Ohio State just comes out here, and outside of a good opening drive for Minnesota that still ends in a field goal, it's just dominance. Like, there's something to be said about the level of consistency that Ohio State is playing at. And I know The Athletic wrote about it, just about kind of this recession-proof thing where over the course of 50 years, Ohio State just does not really bottom out ever. Like, it doesn't happen. This is even that to, like, a new level.
It's like the ultimate version of that, realized.
Yeah, like it is almost impossible. Like, Ohio State's minus 3,000 to make the college football playoff. It's October, 4th? Yeah. Like that's where we're at with this program right now. And he's got the national title now, so you can find, last year he had a really good winning percentage too, but he didn't have a national title, so you couldn't really talk about him among the greats. Mm-hmm. Ryan Day, with the team that he has now, they can win a national championship this year, but you would kind of project that over the course of the next 5 years, they'll probably win at least, he'll get at least his second championship at some point in the next 5 years, barring something surprising happening. Like, he is coaching at a level that has never been seen before, frankly, with the percentage that he's at. And it I think maybe gets overlooked because of narratives and stuff like that are around Ryan Day. And I get it. The Michigan narrative is a massive one. He's got to get right. I think we don't talk about him yet with the greats because of that, right? That matters so much at Ohio State, the Michigan thing. But like when you look at the numbers and what he's doing and the rate that he's winning at, it's incredibly impressive. And the born on third base thing maybe plays into that, and people have that in the back of their mind. Whatever it is, there's a lot of narratives around Ryan Day. And frankly, he's kind of debunked them all because Ohio State's playing at a level never seen before.
I would put the championships at 2.5 over and under right now. I think that's just like a fair place to put it. Andrew, Ryan Day won a ring last year.
Yep.
And sometimes just winning a championship gets a monkey off your back where now you can feel like you figured it out. And that doesn't mean you stop working, but it's just not, no one could question whether you know what you're doing or not. And now we see what he's doing so far through 5 games. Did Ryan Day figure out college football?
Yeah, I said going into the year, like, I predicted them to lose to Texas, and I said they're going to run the table the rest of the way, and that includes Michigan. And I thought that national championship kind of cleared some things for Ohio State, and I think it did, and they just beat Texas, and here we are. Like, they're beating the snot out of the teams that they should. They are beating the good teams, and we say good. Texas might not be all that good, but it was a good win. I'll put it like that. I think it was a good win, but Texas might not be all that good. And, like, to Stefan's point, like, this is not something that plagues just, like, the decent teams in college football or even, like, the mid teams in college football. The team that Ohio State played in the national championship game last year lost to Northern Illinois, like, 3 months earlier. Like, and then Notre Dame had to go on this run. But, like, other teams fall victim to this, right? Like, other teams lose games that they absolutely should not lose. Penn State's one of them today, but this is not just a, this is kind of a one-off. Like, this is college football. This is what makes college football so elite, and Ryan Day hasn't fallen victim to that. So, yeah, very, very impressive that they're able to do this. You look at just kind of around the sport, and Jim Tressel said it, when he was coach at Ohio State, on your worst day, you still have to find a way to win. And on Ohio State's worst days so far this year, they are winning by multiple scores. So, yeah, I mean, he has done a great job.
I think it's just an interesting parallel with Ohio State and Penn State, Ryan Day and James Franklin, because this is the lowest point of James Franklin's career at Penn State. It's not even close. Okay, Ryan Day had a low point too last year. Right, we're talking about James Franklin never lost games like that. Okay, you wrote it before the Michigan game. Ryan Day had never lost to that game before, but also he has a Michigan problem. So, like, what wins out here, the unranked thing or the Michigan thing? And the Michigan thing won out in that situation. So that was his lowest point. I think the difference is Ryan Day's losses have never killed his teams.
Yeah.
Right? Like, his first loss was to Clemson in a college football playoff game. His second loss was to Alabama in a national championship. His third loss was to Oregon early in the season, and you could bounce back from that. His fourth loss started the Michigan thing. His fifth loss was a Michigan loss again. His sixth loss was Oregon. Middle of the season, we all went, oh, that was an awesome game. These two teams are going to see each other again in Indianapolis. His seventh loss was just the Michigan thing again. So, like, 4 of those losses are Michigan things, and the other 3 are playoff teams or early in the year, so it doesn't really matter. And then even the seventh loss, how does he redeem that? By running off 4 straight for a national championship. James Franklin can't heal this. It's October 4th, and you have 2 losses, and one of them is at home, and the other one is inexcusable. That's the difference between James Franklin and Ryan Day. Ryan Day does not have last year's Michigan loss was inexcusable, but it's a rivalry game, and rivalry games get weird.
It's really the only inexcusable loss that he's had.
And it's a rivalry game, and those get weird all the time. Nick Saban lost to Auburn one year and then went on and won the national championship. So that happens all the time. Ryan Day's standard for excellence. I love what you said that. Like, shout out to Cameron T. Robinson. He's the one who wrote that story. This is like the ultimate version of Ohio State is recession-proof across eras. Okay, Ohio State's recession-proof. This team is the most recession-proof Ohio State team they've had in a while. They lost 8 starters on defense. I think they're better. They lost a lot of dudes on the offensive line, and I think this offensive line is at least on par. They lost. Emeka Puka's tearing up the NFL right now, and we're like, okay, so J.J. Carnell-Tate pretty good. They lost both of their coordinators. One of their coordinators they lost just gave up 42 points to UCLA, and the other one's coaching in Las Vegas right now. And Matt Patricia, I don't know, you just replace him with a Super Bowl winning defensive coordinator, and then you get your understudy to call the plays for you, who also is responsible for why your weapons are so explosive. This is what it looks like. This is what sustained excellence looks like. And obviously, we're going to get to the last game of the season and have a lot of conversations about Michigan because they have to figure that out. Because that is the only thing only thing, that and another ring, holding Ryan Day back from sitting at a table with some of the greatest coaches in college football, because there is no reason to believe that this is going to fall off a cliff anytime soon.
I just think it's like, let's put into perspective how good this run has been for Ryan Day. This is his 7th year as Ohio State's head coach, and Steven just listed off every game he's lost.
On the top of his head.
And how many of those losses can you just go, all right, man, look, football. You lose and you win sometimes.
Most of them.
And that's what's so impressive about this. How much time do we have left, Stefan? All right, we got 4 minutes. Andrew, biggest takeaway from Ohio State's 42-3 win over Minnesota.
I don't want Ohio State fans to
Bring the party down.
No. I don't want Ohio State fans to look at what's happening at receiver and take it for granted. Because this is special as special gets. You have Jeremiah Smith, who is the best offensive player in the sport, and he's one of one. I think Ohio State fans are very well aware of how good he is and how much they need to celebrate him and how great it is for them to watch Jeremiah Smith last year, this year, and then, oh, by the way, you get him for another year next year. I think they're well aware of that. But what really, really makes this special, and I wrote about this post-game, you have another first-round pick who should probably be the number 1 receiver off the board, who will have never been the number 1 target on his own team. For the majority of his career, he wasn't even the number 2 target on this team. Carnell Tate is the best receiver in college football that's going to go pro in the 2026 NFL draft. Ohio State has the number 1 receiver in the 27 draft, which is going to get squirrely because they have a quarterback right here who might go ahead of him just because he plays quarterback, and there's a lot of other really good quarterbacks. It's a fun combo for a year from now. There are other great quarterbacks as well, but Jeremiah is going to be the first receiver in 27 off the board. Carnell should be the first receiver in 26. And I understand there are really good players. Jordan Tyson, Arizona State, great. Makai Lemon at LSU, great. Denzel Boston at Washington, great. I know he didn't do a lot last week, but that's a credit to Ohio State's defense. Carnell Tate's the best receiver in the 2026 in the 2026 NFL draft. So, look, I just want Ohio State fans to really just kind of take a step back and go, this is really special because it happened last year with Emeka. Like you said, 4 touchdowns in 4 games for that guy, and he joined a team that has Mike Evans on it, and he went, I'm awesome. So yeah, Mike Evans is a first ballot Hall of Famer, and this dude showed up and was awesome. I really, really think that this is just a level of special that even in a few years, if this Ohio State run with receiver continues, and like judging by the recruiting classes with Chris Henry Jr., Jameer Brown, Caden Dixon-Wyatt, all these other kids that are going to come in the next handful of years, even if this continues, it might not be this. You might have the number 1 receiver off the board, and then you might have the number 4 receiver off the board who's the 38th overall pick. It might not be this. And just treasure this because Jeremiah Smith is a dog. He is one of one. He's one of the best college receivers to ever live. Carnell Tate's a first-round pick, and I just don't want that to go underrated because this is truly unfathomable what's happening in Ohio State right now.
Couple of things. One, Emeka Egbuka looked at Mike Evans and said, I know how to play with your type. I did it in college for 4 years. 2, you sound like me in 2021 going, I don't think you're ever going to see this ever again. And yet here we are 4 years later saying it. So, like, you're not wrong, except you're wrong because of where we get, because the team we get to cover. Yeah. Here's my question for you, Stefan, building off of that. And we're going to go over the 15 minutes. It is what it is. Maybe people love it. Who knows? Chris Olave, Emeka Egbuka, Carnell Tate. You can make a case that all 3 of those guys were never the best receiver on Ohio State's team, or most talented receiver on Ohio State's team at any point in their career. And they all 3, 2 so far have gone on to the NFL and been wide receiver 1s. One just can't find a quarterback who isn't trying to kill him every week. Who's the best wide receiver 2 of the Ryan Day, Brian Hartline era?
It's tough. I think I lean toward Emeka because he literally broke the program record for receptions, right?
To be fair, Chris Olave owns the record for most career touchdowns.
That's true.
It's difficult, man.
That's true. I think I'd probably go Emeka and Olave after that, and I'd probably still have Olave ahead of Carnell, but I don't think Carnell is far off from working his way up into those. I think Carnell's he's kind of having. Oh, that's our timer. Carnell's kind of having his breakout year. I think Emeka and Olave did it a little bit longer and earlier in their career, so that's probably why I'd lean that way. But yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. Carnell's playing at a superb level, and like I think tonight was big for Carnell because like it went from, hey, he's a really good receiver and he's Ohio State's number 2 receiver, to like he's not as good as Jeremiah Smith, but like he is. Like, I think everyone saw tonight, like, this dude's a number 1 receiver. Like, for probably, like, all but, honestly, maybe every team in the country, but, like, maybe there's, like, 3 that can have a conversation of if he would be their number 1 receiver. Like, I think he needed a game like this to kind of just show everyone, to show the NFL, like, hey, I'm not just the second to Jeremiah. Like, I'm this dude. Emeka had those games, right, where you're like, okay, he's a dude. And Carnell, for a lot of time, we talked about, like, I think Carnell's big thing was he's an Ohio State receiver. Like, you got to take him in the first round because of the track record that they have. But now it's take Carnell because we just saw what Carnell can do against a Big Ten team. 150-plus receiving yards, 2 touchdowns. Like, he's a deep ball threat, like, capital T threat. But then he also does a ton for you in middle and short yardage. Like, and I talked about it last week, like, might be the best blocking receiver in college football. Like, he's just playing at such a high level, and I like that he had a game like this where everyone in the country who's watching can go, oh, yeah, that guy's pretty good.
Yeah, he's really good at football. He catches everything. Yep. He caught 7 of his 8 targets. And I think the one he didn't catch is the one you were talking about in the other video when Julian Sayin just threw it out of bounds. It's pretty good. I am wondering with these two, who else gets to eat because teams have to figure those, have to like just diverge so many resources to them. Because if you don't, this is what they're going to do to you every single week for the next 3.5 months, and Ryan Day is going to get another gold trophy in January. Is it Brandon Ennis or is it Max Clare? And I can't figure out which one yet, because that's what happened to bring up 2021. You had to diverge so many resources to Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave on the outside that all of a sudden Jackson Smith-Njigba popped up, and by the time teams figured it out, it was too late. It was the Rose Bowl, and he has 350 yards and 3 touchdowns and 15 catches. Unfortunately, he didn't get to build on that his next year because he got hurt. But that's literally what happened is Garrett and Chris spent the entire year going, this guy's better than us. Please stop doubling us. And then he went, they told you to stop doubling them. I don't know if that's quite on the table for Brandon Ennis and Max Clare to the same level, but you have to diverge all of your resources to Carnell Tate and Jeremiah Smith. If you let them be one-on-one, you are saying you're okay with giving up 40-yard bombs, period. So at what point does Brandon Ennis get more involved in the passing game, or maybe does Max Clare and some combination of Max Clare and Will Kazmarek get involved? Do we see Bo Jackson, now that he's clearly running back number 1, get involved? But who's the third guy who shows up for the party? You guys are right. Both of these dudes are awesome. I don't know. There's no other way to say that. They're very good. But them being so good has to open up for a third guy to join the team. And I don't know if that's happened yet through 5 weeks, but it also hasn't had to happen because the results have been either you can't score on our defense, you can't stop our offense, or both. So too bad. Nobody else needs to get the ball. But they're going to play better teams in the playoff. And Brandon Ennis and Max Clare have to show that they are threats, and they haven't necessarily had the opportunity to do that so far because JJ and Carnell are just taking up so much oxygen, and it's necessary for them to take up so much oxygen. You're right. They should have wide receiver 1. They should have had wide receiver 1 in 2022 when Garrett went behind Drake London. They had wide receiver 1 in 2023 with Jackson Smith-Njigba. They had it again with Marvin in 2024. They probably should have had it this past draft with Emeka Egbuka. And they should have it for the next 2 years. But listen, this is what Brian Hartline does. He develops wide receivers at a high level, and now he's calling the plays for them. I'm Steven. That's Stefan. That's Andrew. We tried a different thing where we just talked about multiple topics. We ended up talking about 2 topics for 40 minutes because we like to talk. And if you like this, we talk even longer on this thing called Buckeye Talk. Go listen to that wherever you find podcasts and get the text 614-350-3315. It's a 2-week free trial, $3.99 after that. We don't go crazy long on that one, but everywhere else we do. See you guys in Champaign.